The AST Voltson Super Trucks returns to the Winston Speedway this week for the first dirt track race of the 2017 season, taking place at the banked 3/8 mile oval on the western end of Michigan's Lower Peninsula in the town of Rothbury. 23 trucks will be taking the start for the race, but we also had a few drivers who failed to qualify on time. Legend Hart, Aiden Shepard, and Jenny Jackson were the three drivers who will all have to go home early. Shepard, in that 42 truck, was attempting to make his first start in the series tonight with Trailblazer Motorsports, a team that is brand new to the series this week. His teammate Jay McCarthy, however, did manage to make the race and will start from the 20th position. Taking the pole position for the second time in his Voltson Super Trucks career, John Bennett is going to lead the field to the start, with Jason Miller in truck number 40 on his outside. Bennett failed to qualify for the race at Nelson Ledges last week after being involved in an accident during the heat race, and he's looking to make up for lost ground at the point standings, earning 20 bonus points for qualifying on as a start. Grant Edwards, who started in third place, moves into second, with Scott Madigan, who started in fifth, moving through into third, and Madigan's going to get around Edwards for the second spot early on. Madigan is yet another driver who failed to qualify at Nelson Ledges. He in fact was eliminated from the heat race in the same accident as Bennett, and now here he goes for the lead on the 58 less than 10 laps into the race. Bennett won on debut at MIS last year but hasn't managed to return to victory lane since. Although he has been one of the most consistent contenders in this series, he did finish fourth in the points last year, and Madigan is making only his fourth start today. We're not sure what his experience on dirt tracks is, but he's not doing a bad job here on the start, as Natasha Rodriguez moves around Bennett to relegate him to third as the 86 now runs second. Brianna Prinzhorn and Zach Churchill had an abysmal qualifying run, barely making the show. They were the last two trucks on the grid, which is quite a surprise after Prinzhorn dominated last week at Nelson Ledges. But before they've even gotten to lap 10, they've already put more than half the field behind them, trying to get around Grant Edwards now. Just ahead of them, Samantha Spires is trying to get around John Bennett, who is continuing to fall down the order. Spires herself only started from the 19th position, and Camden Rhodes, running with these drivers as well, only started from 18th. It is apparent that there are a number of trucks whose qualifying pace did not represent the speed that they have for the race, and yet another example of this is this 042 truck of Jay McCarthy. McCarthy, driving for the Trailblazer Motorsports team, is making his first start in the series and the first start for this team. We mentioned that his teammate Aiden Shepard failed to qualify, but after starting in 20th, McCarthy himself is already knocking on the door of the top 10, very much impressing in his debut race. Back at the front, Scott Madigan is facing a challenge for the lead from Natasha Rodriguez as the 86 truck dives to the inside in turn number 1. Rodriguez sat out the race at Nelson Ledges while her brother took over the truck in an effort to defend his victory in that race from the year before. But in her first race back, she is putting on her best run of the season, taking the lead from the 53 truck, and now with Rodriguez in the lead, Madigan in second, and Bailey Bliss in the 89 truck running in third. Her top three drivers are all rookies, making their runs tonight all the more impressive. Bliss, in fact, is the single biggest mover of the race thus far. She started all the way back in 17th. But on the other end of the spectrum, Rodriguez's teammate Adam Ramirez is not having nearly as good of a run, currently running in dead last. It's rather surprising to see Ramirez running this far back, especially since he finished 11th here last year on debut. But speaking of drivers having poor runs, he just got around Grant Edwards to put the 79 truck into last, and Edwards is going to be the first truck to go a lap down to Rodriguez. Look at how quickly the 86 drives away from him after putting him a lap down. We're hearing reports that there might be something wrong with the 79, and I could definitely believe that. That truck is well off the pace of the rest of the field. Jason Miller has fallen towards the back himself. Speaking of drivers who started well, Miller was on the outside of the front row, and Danella Jacobson, running at the back with him, has just not had much pace all weekend. She didn't even start well, and is at risk of losing a lot of the advantage that she has in the points to her competitors who run closer to the front. Just ahead of her, we have Alex Raston in the 95, running in the lower midfield, but still doing a respectable job considering that he was not scheduled to start this race in the first place. Back at the front, we've got a battle for third, as Michael McKinley has caught up to the 89 of Bailey Bliss, and now, trying to dispatch her through turn 3, they're going to come across Grant Edwards, Bliss's teammate, who unfortunately is going to hold up the 89 long enough for McKinley to get around her. So that was some unfortunate timing there. Edwards struck, something's definitely amiss with the 79 as he is still well off the pace. But Bliss is going to take the spot right back from McKinley. These two got together last week at Nelson Ledges while battling for position, which resulted in Bliss going off course and into the wall. I'm not sure if they've managed to put it behind them, but regardless of whether or not they have, it's nice to see them racing cleanly for position here. And Bliss now going for second place on Scott Madigan, who's having a bit of a hard time getting around these lap trucks. The 89 moving herself into the second position. Bliss missed the first race of the season at MIS after being wrecked in the heats, but she is making a very strong comeback. We're not even at the halfway point of the season, but she is already trying to make a statement that she is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the championship. But down the track, Rodriguez has been putting lap trucks behind her very, very quickly, trying to create as big of a buffer as possible between her and her competition. Michael McKinley now trying to get around Madigan as well to chase back down the 89. McKinley won this race, of course, 2 years ago, and is searching for his 6th career victory as he tries now to chase down the 89 of Bailey Bliss. But we've got another contender making his way towards the front. Wilson Timothy, trying to get around Amberly Weiss for the 5th position here, has not been running anywhere near the front all night long, but in the closing stages, his SAR has come to life as he storms his way into the top 5 and now catches right up to the battle for 3rd. Scott Madigan has gotten himself back around the 99M for that position, but Timothy gets around McKinley as soon as he catches up, and in the same lap is going to get around the 53 as if he isn't even trying. There are not that many laps to go at this point, but if I were Rodriguez, I would still be very nervous, as this 61 truck is absolutely tearing his way through the field. Bliss herself is trying to put as much distance as she can between her and the 16, while simultaneously trying to chase down the 86. Here she is trying to get around the 94 of Alex DeFranco. He is the last truck in between the 86 and the 89, and as soon as she clears him, she is going to have clear track ahead of her. Bliss has been able to maintain her speed throughout the duration of this event as she works on getting around DeFranco, but she's not going to have enough time to catch up to Rodriguez. She's going to take the white flag with a comfortable gap between her and the 89, and rounding the final corners, Natasha Rodriguez, in just her 4th start, is going to claim her first victory in the AST Voltson Super Trucks. This is also the 3rd race victory in a row for female drivers in a series where before this year only one had ever managed to win a race, and it is also the first victory for the Isani brand. Congratulations to Rodriguez and everybody on the Jinx Racing development team. Yet another noteworthy statistic is that she also becomes part of the first brother-sister duo to win races in this series. Joel Rodriguez, as we mentioned earlier, won last year at Nelson Ledges. Bailey Bliss brings home a strong 2nd place result after a great run from her today, with Wilson Timothy storming his way all the way onto the podium. Scott Madigan finishes in 4th in what was the best race of his season, with Michael McKinley rounding out the top 5. Amberly Weiss has another great run on the dirt tracks and finishes in 6th. Samantha Spires worked from 19th up to 7th. Jay McCarthy on his debut race finishes in 8th after starting at the back. So a very impressive job to the Trailblazer Motorsports team. We'll have to see what they can do the rest of the season. Camden Rhodes finishes in 9th for the Operation JM team, and after winning last week at Nelson Ledges, Brianna Prinzhorn in truck number 7 rounds out the top 10.